Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to round two coverage here at the High Country Open. My name is Corey, and this time I am joined by the course and property owner himself, Mr. Paul Stiller. How we doing, Paul?
Great. How you doing, Corey? I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for coming up and sharing this weekend with us. I'm excited about all of it.
Oh, it's absolutely a treat to be here. Really remarkable piece of property, so much work, and this is the weekend that we're able to show it all off. After round one, we have Chandler Fry and Parker Welck battling up top, Max Regitnig and Andrew Marwede filling out that lead card. Here we are, though, hole one on Caliber. This is the number 8 ranked course in the world, and I am so excited to be able to show this one off. Hole one, left to right, slightly downhill. What's the play here, Paul?
The play here is to not overshoot the pin because there is OB about 30 feet deep. Don't get hung up in the Colorado blue spruce on the left, and try to skip it. A good miss is to the right side of the pin.
Yeah, this one has that gentle downhill slope. Obviously, a little bit of a left to right play by just shape of the fairway here. You expect a sidearm, but Chandler does love these turnover backhands. I believe he's going Pathfinder here. Paul, one of my favorite things about this course is the vegetation and just the variety. What was it like being able to carve through this wood line just to build an epic piece of property?
It was a pleasure because the forest on this piece of property is very healthy. It's got many different stories to it that are in good health. There's plenty of turnover. There's not too much rot. There's a good variety of everything and always looking pretty lush.
Yeah, very lush. We're out here in springtime as Chandler leaks a little bit left. We see Parker here playing a little bit more of the traditional line to perfection. Sidearm with the captain's raptor right down in there. The downhillness of the hole does lead to probably the straight, leaving it a little bit too left and straight is probably the miss you're going to see with the sidearm a lot. Really, you got to have that hook up just short of the trees. Max Regitnig here. He's been on tour for a few years. We haven't seen him on coverage a bunch. A really solid game, though. Out of Canada, generally. He's going to have a longer C2 putt. Marwede. I would expect, this is kind of him licking his chops right here. It was really fun to see him playing some sidearm shots on what I would think are backhand dominant holes out at Motherlode. So here at Caliber, I think it's going to be more the same.
This is going to leak a little bit right into some tight grass. Okay. He's in good shape.
Yeah, beat it a little bit. There is that fun little garden vegetation area. Chandler now lining up.
Excuse my dog, Rika.
This is my favorite moment of the day.
She knows her way home.
Chandler said that, well, that's the first time I've ever been iced out by a dog. Look at that little Saint Bernard. I love that dog. One of my favorite things about playing on private properties, honestly, is just the characters you meet. We got Sparks, the little dog. We got Rika, the big dog. It's a fun time out here. Not quite enough juice from Chandler. He's off a knee. That was a long one. It would have been a plus make. Max now open, though, with a chance. Always a little nervy on the first hole on the green.
He's got a slight tailwind here, and that's going to press shots down like we just saw.
Mm-hmm. Marwede on the flip side, though, is going to be putting into that headwind. And it is kind of interesting to be playing a woods course that is affected by the wind. I think a lot of times, you're a little sheltered, but we're up on these mountains, and the wind just does come blasting through these fairways.
And this is a knoll, so you have the dynamics of wind speeding up around a knoll and creating pockets and air bounces that you wouldn't normally see on flat ground.
Yeah, we had Fish on for round one commentary, and he, really was emphasizing the swirliness of the wind. There is a predominant wind direction out here just generally, but once you get up in these hills, around these valleys, as Parker is able to tap in his birdie, get back on track here, tying it up at 11. But you just kind of never know. And I'm sure if you spend a lot of time out here, there is a predictability, but some of us, first time out here, it can kind of feel left to right. You get to the next hole, it's right to left, headwind, difficult to predict.
There are some tricky winds, and as soon as you go around it a few times, you think you got it down, and then the wind changes, and it's a completely different beast.
Parker, just an enviable sidearm. It's so fun to just see him rip super confident sidearms through very tight lines out here.
Very smooth player.
Caliber is a par 65 as opposed to the 70 from Motherlode, so we're expecting to see maybe a lower number of scores, but there is less of those par 4s and 5s for these players to scramble around and still find their birdies. A hole 4, though, this one is a really interesting shape. Talk about the design here.
This plays down the Trans-Canada pipeline, so it's a fall line that takes you away from the green and also at a lower elevation. A little bit tricky coming into this green because the predominant headwind slacks off when you get closer to the green because you are in the lee of the trees.
Yeah, I like how the hole generally falls away from the basket too, really putting a priority on maintaining that hyzer line. It feels like it's so easy to draw it to the right into those trees. Were the signs here before? I imagine the signs were here before you ever did any of the property work. Is that correct?
Those signs are markers for the Trans-Canada pipeline.
Okay, makes sense. I was wondering if there were signs like left from here, or they look government by nature. Chandler looking to go big boy, but that headwind though makes this shot tough.
Little tricky. You don't want to leak right. And he did not get grabbed and thrown towards the OB, which is beneficial.
Yeah, 654 on the distance. Not an overwhelmingly long hole, but if you are to the right side where Chandler is, it's very, very uphill. As Max just goes boom, boom on this one.
And that drive was pumped. That is one of the best drives I've seen here from the pros.
Yeah, it's got to be a treat to see a course that you spend so much time, your friends spend so much time playing, but now you see the best players in the world carving these lines up, getting to places unknown by mere mortals.
I love to see it.
Marwede. And see, that's the beauty of leaving some of that tall grass. You miss your line, and that's extremely punishing on a hole like this. Pulled over a bit, and that's that fall line. It's difficult to maintain balance. I always say, like, Paul McBeth is the most balanced player I've ever seen. It takes that on a shot like that.
So he's got about a 40-foot vertical challenge here.
Oof. Pushing the tree line. He's
Great
up there,
shot.
though. Yeah, 30 feet, maybe 28 feet uphill for the birdie. Parker, though, would like to be a little closer. Sign it off a little. I love all of the flattened areas. You can tell, you can just tell the terraforming on this. And so many of these holes have these ledges. Like Parker just threw right up onto that ledge. And you get at least a flat surface to putt from or play from instead of just a raw hillside. It's really nice.
This green, I did have to dig out from the side, obviously. Oof. There are some really nice natural benches on this course, but not on this particular hole.
Yeah, you can really just see all the love and care that has gone into it, from paths to ledges to little plateaus that we're driving to. Max playing this to perfection.
Excellent shot.
All right, Parker's got a chance here. He's 55, 60, a little farther than you want, but relatively open. Good action. We saw in round one, Parker's putter is so confident right now. It's a treat to watch him play.
I asked him when he was practice putting whether I could buy his putt. He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "How about the Neuralink thing? You could lease it to me on a monthly basis."
That's great. Yeah. Well, then you're paying a subscription forever, though.
And I would.
Parker putts with steady BLs. I believe. Oh, great putt by Marwede.
Excellent.
Arguably the best putter in the world. I think Paul Ulibarri might technically have the C1 percentage right now, but Marwede, year after year, is in the running for the best putter of the world. Speaking of good putters as well, Chandler. He's just so consistent.
Strong weekend, consistent showing by Chandler.
And the beard and just general aesthetic feels like woods.
Yes.
Max now looking to just finish up.
It'll
Really?
keep the mosquitoes away from chewing on your face.
Yeah, if nothing else. And I will say, so a little bit of context for the day. We are starting 2 hours after our original tee times. As Parker taps in his par, you see everybody's got their umbrellas. Up until the start of this round, it has been an absolute maelstrom out there. Rain, hail, the entire thing.
For those who understand North Idaho weather, this is called all in a day, where you can get it all.
Yeah, and then by the time we're out here playing, it's beautiful, sunny, crisp evening air. Honestly, we couldn't have asked for better weather because the mosquitoes were down. It was a treat all day out there.
So holes 3, 4, 5, and 6 will challenge your height. You don't want to be too far off the ground here. If you send it too high, you're going to go up over a knoll. The hole slides to the left. You need to keep it no more than 3 feet or 4 feet off the ground to have a chance, or the wind might start taking it on you.
Yeah, this one is incredibly difficult. Specifically for the righty backhand, the hill just falls, or the hillside just falls away. So if you have any sort of air into it, just like you said, it really likes to fall down there. You can take the inside line for more of a straight approach, or you can hang it off to the right and play that kind of stall hyzer back into the green. Curious to see which one they play. Chandler goes with neither, unfortunately.
You can take this deep down the right side all the way to the pin with a light fade, and you'll be in good shape.
Yeah, really distance, height control, tempo, though. The speed control on this one's critical. Max, off to the right a little bit. Really, you're just trying to be so fine on this green, or on this tee pad, that it is difficult to just stay committed.
That looks like a great shot.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, boy.
And just like you said, that bullet straight shot, not fiddling around with the treetops. Marwede looking to do the same. I personally am kind of surprised he doesn't go with the turnover sidearm here. I think that does play really well into this hillside if you can pull it off.
Looks like he wants to take it deep down the right side and shaved it a little bit too thin and got stuck.
What are those trees with the white bark and the leaves that almost twinkle in the sky? What is that? What are those trees?
That's called a quaking aspen, although the ones you see on the right side, those are birch.
Oh, okay.
We do have quaking aspen and black cottonwood, birch, maple. There's a variety pack on this property. After the last logging event, they planted it like an arboretum.
Wow. I think these are my favorite, as Chandler unfortunately doesn't get his approach where he wants. They're maybe my favorite disc golf trees ever. All over Europe, you see like Yarva, the Beast. They all have these birch or aspen trees. Man, they're really proving to be difficult, though. The green is so touchy that it's hard to be comfortable no matter where you are. Andy Marwede looking to put it close. Again, though, you just see the wall of trees he's trying to navigate.
It helps to be able to identify the trees here also. Great shot. Because they look similarly. If you can identify the quaking aspens, you know they're making more noise than the wind is actually representing. So they can scare you into thinking it's a little more windy. And if you can say, okay, these are Quakers, and it's not as windy as it sounds, then you don't get spooked into trying to overpower or play a certain shot.
No, and as Parker sits, 16 feet, maybe 14 feet from the pin for his birdie. One of my favorite parts about this property is all the botanical information on the signs. Like, you have a lot of the vegetation is labeled, fun, interesting facts, historical data, that sort of thing. So, even if you didn't know about the quaking aspens, you will after this round.
Yeah, my wife did a great job by identifying everything on the property. There's such a variety pack, very healthy forest here. You've got everything from small vegetation, bushes, 12-foot tall stuff, all the way up into trees. And it just, it's nice to walk around and see what you're playing in and get a little education at the same time.
Absolutely. Kind of reminds me, not a one-to-one, but there's a course in Des Moines called Ewing Park that was originally planted as an arboretum. It was almost like like a study, education center, and then we got a disc golf course, and you kind of get every vegetation that you can play in all in one round. So it's a really fun experience. Parker with the birdie there, smooth drive. Catch you after the break.
The United States Disc Golf Championship, a tournament with history unmatched in the disc golf world.
Oh,
You bet!
Colin Hanley is on fire.
Talk about giving the crowd a show. What a performance from Kyle Klein.
Gannonberg, this kid is unbelievable.
Oh my God!
Alrighty, and we are back. Special thanks to Innova and the USDGC. Maybe my favorite event of the year. Also just a complete polar opposite of a property as this one. Not out in the open like USDGC, deep in the woods. This hole, this is probably one of the 10 holes in my top 5 on the property somehow. I love this hole. Par 4. 717 feet. One of the most unique shapes to any hole I've seen played, and it shares a trait that I find in a lot of these par 4s where there's 2 gaps, but I think the best play is to play one gap and fade into another gap. So you have a left or right option. I love the right side fading left though here.
Yeah, if you can take it deep enough and get into that left fairway, you've got a fairly straight shot towards the pin.
Parker doing pretty much exactly as prescribed. Oh my gosh. Wow. He's right in the mouth. You see that 270 sign on that tree. By the way, love the distance markers. And, you know, Fish mentioned it too. Not only is it nice to have the distances, especially when you're, you know, maybe not a home course, but they really are placed where you want them to be. Or where you want to be, you know? They're not like way off to the side. If you're standing next to a sign, you're in a very good spot.
Yes.
Marwede off to the right a little bit.
I'm trying to emulate golf courses where they give you information on the course in order to play the game better.
Mm-hmm. No, I love it. And especially on a woods course like this where not everything is great visuals, right? Chandler. Oh, no. The one thing to miss, that thing was moving too.
He caught that big tamarack tree and it was merciless.
I love leaving that right there, though. It defines the fairway. It's kind of that signature tree on the hole. It's beautiful. Max. Oh, a little overturned.
The western larch is the only conifer tree that loses its needles in the wintertime.
Wow. Huh. And that's that one right there?
Yep, and they look like they're dead in the wintertime, and then they come back. They're very fine needles. They love to embed down in the tee pads.
Oh, not fun. I love the difference in the basically the floor, the forest floor between the two courses. We have the beautiful lush green fairways here. You had mentioned, or I had talked to you earlier about the deciduous nature of this whole area, so it gets a lot of light, gets a lot of sun. The pine straw and pine needles on mother lode, though, don't really give opportunity for the grass to grow or as much. It's lovely to see the contrast between the two. Chandler really just trying to escape. This is trouble. 350 away, maybe, downhill, pinched throw, but he's getting the cotton candy. Oh, my God.
And he trusted that right line, and it came through for him. There is a nice little gap down there. It's a little bigger than you can perceive from where he's throwing from, but it's there.
Max now with what could be a pretty gentle putter approach, but
that looks like it's going OB.
Yeah, just overturned, out of bounds. Unfortunately, he'll be chipping up for a likely 5. He's gonna have to navigate some trees even to get that. Parker, almost in like too good a position. I don't know if I've seen anybody shoot it all the way down here.
I'm gonna think he's gonna go down this right side with something soft and overstable. Look at this.
Yeah, went with the zone shot.
Okay.
A little bit overcooked, but I like the shape. You know, you really want it swooping back on hyzer down the hill. Throwing
Yes.
something that's straight is just asking for trouble. Marwede now. From about 65, 70, he's liable to make these.
Oh, good bid.
Yeah, I like the floater there. You know, a lot of these greens slope away. Being hyper aggressive on the green, it can really be trouble out here.
Yeah, they both got those discs down at the right angle so they didn't get a roll away or a skip.
Parker looking to make good on the birdie. Max now after the approach just needs to clean up this 5, limit the damage. Yeah, there you go. Back-to-back bogeys, not what you're looking to see, but he's a good player. I think he's going to get it back on track.
Okay, we're heading into holes 5, 6, and 7 that border a subdivision, and I would like to personally thank the people who live in that subdivision for blindly trusting us to do the right thing over the years, and I hope that we have. We try to be people who have respect for our neighbors, and thank you very much. And if you want to come over and play, just come on out.
Yeah, it's got to be an interesting experience. You know, you purchase some land kind of deeper in the woods, North Idaho. Maybe people not used to just a guy out in the woods chainsawing. What was that like the first time that your neighbors saw you out there just going madman with a chainsaw and excavator?
Well, I'm pretty sure they thought I was starting a development, but I was kind of starting a development of disc golfers, and tried to let them know that I was going to build a park in their backyard and they wouldn't have big houses overlooking them. And I think now they see it as beneficial because we're not a threat, and they've got a beautiful area in back of their homes that is nice and peaceful.
Yeah, I think a lot of times as we look at hole 5 here, 267, pretty much straight uphill.
44 elevation feet.
Kind of reminds
gain.
me of hole 4 over on the Motherlode course. Similar shape, similar shot, a little bit more open on this one. But just out here, you gotta imagine, relative to a big housing development, I mean, who appreciates the nature more than us who are throwing discs around and trying our best to, you know, commune with nature?
This is a gotta-get hole. I think if you don't birdie this hole, you're losing 1 to the field. Whereas Parker on hole 3 got a birdie, and he gained 1 on the field because that's very difficult.
Yes, this one definitely feels like the must-get. What's the mindset as far as balancing the must-gets with maybe some of the more diabolical holes? Do you have a plan there, or does it just come out like it is?
Part of the plan was the subdivision to the south, and I wanted to make a hole where it worked slightly away from the home, and it was uphill, because when people start walking uphill, they start huffing and puffing, and they're not yakking and making a bunch of noise. So the idea was to make a hole to get to the other hole, make it fun. This is very challenging, where you need to turn your shoulders to the slope of the hill, like you've seen these players do because they're professionals. Similar in ball golf, where you turn your hips and your shoulders and your knees to the slope of the hill, and then you swing normal. If you try to throw uphill, if you try to throw the disc up, you end up going nose down and into the hill. If you try to throw downhill, you end up air bouncing and going up. So the best thing to do is to put your shoulders in a position that matches the hill, and then you can throw normal, and usually your hips and knees will follow.
I love it. Great perspective as Chandler lines up about 31 feet. Longer than you want on this hole, of course. Not the best bid, and you mentioned it. I mean, hilarious that part of the deal was to keep people quiet by exhausting them, but also it's difficult to putt. You just walk straight uphill, your legs are gassed, and now you have a 30-foot uphiller. It's not fun.
Usually people can be breathing hard even when they get to the next tee, and this is not the next tee necessarily with big winds to have the box.
Parker there with the birdie. Now picks up 3 strokes in the last 2 holes. Or, 3 strokes in the last 3 holes, I guess. Excuse me. And now he is going to be up 2 over Chandler, who started off 1 ahead. So Parker really coming out firing.
Nice new baskets this year. We've got the MVP. I think they catch really well.
Yeah, speak about that, because I saw a couple of blue Prodigy baskets deep in the woods, looking like they were hidden or almost like a mythical course out there. So we have new baskets. Talk about the process.
The process of
just new baskets. Why did you decide to go with them?
New
Maybe
baskets.
Switching from blue to yellow.
I wanted to have the same basket on both courses. And I was open to suggestions. MVP makes an excellent product. I took the blue baskets, and I am developing a practice center that doesn't have holes. It's got scenarios that are like holes. A place you can do a little pitch and putt and warm up, and they hide well in the woods because they're blue.
Yeah, no, it does. It's difficult to see, in a good way, though. And speaking of difficult to see, this green, oh my God, 780-foot par 5, one of my favorite holes on the course. I'm going to say that every single time, but really this one plays with a few different plateaus. Off the tee, you're going to be looking for righty backhand with a little bit of left fade, and then it's just reaction, depending on where you're landing. Parker and Andrew both here in a good spot. You maybe like a little more distance, but Max, oh, good kick. Pulled it a little bit. Chandler here, likely going to Eric Oakley Dynasty off the tee. Tune into Thought Space's YouTube channel for the In the Bag I made for Chandler a little bit earlier this year.
Those were all good plays. You do not want to go too far right because you will be in the thicket here. The center of this fairway is 165 feet from the property line.
Oh, wow.
So you've got a good buffer over there, although Marwede is going to be pushing it, as you see the white line over there, which is not the property line. You have to go about another 12 feet off that particular
Still,
line.
though, I mean, that's still pretty darn close to the property line, though, all things considered. Parker going boom, boom. And this is another, there was a hole 16 on Motherlode, can be a bit difficult to film. There's 1 or 2 on this one as well that can present problems, dueling fairways, as Chandler, a little bit upset with himself, hits a tree, and then a little bit of humble pie for Chandler there. Love you, buddy.
I love the rolling benches on this hole. This is one of my favorite on the course.
Yeah, talk about the topography. It's beautiful plot of land we're playing on right now.
I was blown away when I started hiking around this property. I didn't know that this was actually possible until after I started building it.
Parker with the...
It's got so many great little benches and nooks and cranny. I call these disc golf candy.
That's about right.
And people love it.
Good
There's
approach there.
good landing zones. There's a lot of risk reward, whether you're going to hit a bench or land on a downslope and roll into some brush. So it's a good balance.
And just really can't express how lovely it is to be playing in these green grass manicured fairways. Kind of brings me back to Bohart Ranch, Moraine State Park, any of just the world-class woods courses. Marwede approaching to a makeable putt, as well as Max there. Yeah, just outside the circle, steps it in.
Great putt by Andrew. Yeah, all the grass on this course was planted because of the deciduous trees. It's got the soil content that will support that. Motherlode is going to be a different challenge. I think I'll be able to plant clover and rye, but the acidity and tannins in the soil is going to keep some of the other grasses from growing well.
Okay. Well, it's a journey. This one, I mean, obviously, this course did not appear like this overnight. I remember chit-chatting a little bit about how so many people, say, oh, you're so lucky you found this plot of land that just has this, naturally cut into it. It's crazy. No. Lots of work, years of preparation. has led to being able to film shots like this. Andrew Marwede stinging it in from about 40.
I learned a lot of forestry skills up in Alaska. One was to cruise around the forest and figure out the topography. I didn't really take notes on this. I just got in there and crawled around. It was a pretty big thicket. And got in there and crawled around, found the benches, connected the dots, and tried to make something fun, fair, and challenging.
Fun, fair, and challenging, I would say, is what describes hole 7, 365 feet. And you can see in the drone preview, the wind can get a little bit blustery on this one, throwing downhill. I think this one is like maybe cataloged as a right to left shot, or maybe even in your mind when you're looking at the fairway. Looks like you want that left finish. But realistically, if you just throw it right to this rock down at the end of the fairway, which is about net straight, you're going to be in a great spot. A little bit wide.
Me being a lefty, this is a very tough hole. But my friend throws lefty, and he had, I think, 7 birdies last year on this. I've only birdied it twice ever, and I think he's already on number 3 this year.
There's that rock right there you see. So if you it's really 25 feet. You can see it right out. Oh, Parker. Oh, Parker.
What a great redirect.
Sometimes it takes a Mac like that. That's woods golf, though. You know, you throw it off your line doesn't mean it's automatically bad. You could always get lucky. Yeah. Not too bad. Oof. Yeah, not too good either, though. Love the sidearm approach there. A little turnover sidearm into the basket. So satisfying to watch.
It is a dream to watch these strong players play this course. This is what it was built for, and everybody really they are playing the pro tees. They're not too demanding, but there's definitely some challenge there. There's a lot of elevation, and there's a fair bit of wind, and it's all about the competition.
No question. Andrew looking to stay competitive in the round. A little bit over the top. That is going to lead to a likely bogey, kind of stopping that birdie streak.
So you are going to see 6. Oh, nice birdie.
Good
you are going to
putt.
see 6 elevated baskets on this course. I started to elevate some of the baskets because it seems to be what the Pro Tour is doing, and it looks like it's going to be the new standard. It might look off balance because it doesn't have that structure underneath of it with all the advertising on it.
Yeah, I was going to ask if that was an intentional choice to maybe raise. You know, it's not all of them, but some of them are about 6 to 8 inches up or so.
I would say they could be
Up to a foot?
foot or so
Okay,
up.
all right.
It is a standard pole I use that is a permanent pole, and I sink that down in 180 pounds of concrete in a tub. I do that for a few reasons. One is when you're building a hole, it's hard to commit to one place for your pin.
Yeah.
And when you concrete something in and it goes deep, a lot of times it's never quite perfectly stable and upright.
Yes.
So you can always take that, and if it ever gets out of level, you can easily put it back in level. And if you ever want to move it, you just roll it out of the hole and find another spot for it.
Yeah, I did notice that. Some of these, or most of them, as we fly hole 8, pretty much this is one of the shorter, again, like one of the must-gets on the course, 244, pretty simple, or pretty straightforward sidearm shot. I noticed that a lot of the baskets, if not all of them, are sunk into a massive concrete, like, cylinder. I thought to myself first, wow, these aren't going anywhere. Then I remembered this man has an excavator. There is nothing that can't go anywhere. So is the thought that maybe you might move some of these at some point?
Well, move, level, they can't be stolen.
Yeah. Adjust. Yeah.
Very stable without putting a pole in the ground, and everybody's seen poles sticking in the ground in concrete that aren't level, and then you try to shove some rocks in there, and the next guy comes by and pushes it, and they never end up being right, but they're concreted in the ground. So I just tried to think outside the box.
I love it. Chandler and Parker putting themselves right next to the basket. Max a little bit strong on the sidearm, and Andrew actually surprisingly misses the gap and left with this, I don't know, 65-footer.
This is a bit of a wicket hole, and I think there should be one on each 9 holes that test you to hit a tight gap with a touch shot.
Yeah, great call, because it's not the distance. You can't just rip a shot through that gap. It's going to be with like your justice, your slow disc, or a very touchy driver like Chandler did.
Next year, there will be a pro box
Oh,
on this tee that will be approximately 35 feet deeper and 2 feet below.
kind of sunk down back in there.
Yep, just a little bit. Because these guys are good.
I was just going to ask, what is it like? I'm sure when you're building this course, no one builds this course because they want it to get ripped up, right? Because they want people to score super well. So when you see some of the best players in the world come in here and make it look, not like child's play, but man, some of the times it just looks so routine. Is that, does the sadist come out to you a little bit?
No, not at all. I absolutely love to see this top-notch play, especially on this next hole. It is a dream of mine to watch somebody rip this up around the corner all the way to the 111 pin. And if someone's going to skip it around the corner all the way down to the pin, from there, which is possible, I'm going to start crying. It's
tears of disc golf joy.
I love it. I absolutely cheered on. This has been eagled once by Jace Foster.
Oh, that's huge. Long throwing, medium throwing.
I think he really pushed it past these guys, or what these guys are capable of, because he comes up and plays the course several times a year. And
it is that type of course. I think, it's not, and as we see Chandler get ready to throw here on this almost U-turn type hole, but it's so much about landing zones that playing it, the more laps you play, the better you're going to get on it, just naturally, I think, because you're going to know where the danger is, where not to throw.
You'll notice some of the landing zones are bigger, but there's always really good spots in those zones that are much better, much like links golf, where you don't just want to hit it out into the big fairway. If you've got a proper caddy on a Scottish links course, they're going to tell you exactly where to put it. So some of my landing zones are big, with much better landing zones inside those landing zones.
Yes, no, very true. And when you're in the woods, it just kind of comes with the territory that sometimes you're going to throw the shot you want, you're going to be behind a tree. Marwede going the shortcut route, just about decapitating Nick. Good moves there, Mr. Fink.
I like that play. That's a good direct play. You just need to go pretty touchy with it.
Yeah, and I like options, and I think that this course, this hole, there are a lot of different options. It's not just one dictated route.
I like this approach here.
Soft, floaty jump putt.
And that's it. You'll see the triple birch high of the tree. My play is always to try to land about 12 feet to the left of it as we were looking up at it. Pin high with that tree, and you're going to skip right down. It really takes a good touch shot, or you're going to deep it.
Just like that. I think this course really, if you play this course a lot, you're going to get really good at throwing downhill touch approaches, because I feel like it calls for that a lot, and it's not something I'm so used to, or most players are so used to throwing.
I think it helps with the ebb and flow and bring out the best of players if you can test their power and their finesse. Not necessarily in one hole, but I don't think anybody likes to play a disc golf course and only use 4 discs in their bag for the whole time. And I think a lot of these guys are using at least 2/3 of their discs.
Yes, no, very true. It's not just your stock hyzer shot, as Max jams one in from long. Good to see him birdieing again. But yeah, you're throwing mid-ranges, you're throwing fairways. There's a couple of distance drivers for these guys. Parker with a 19 or 20 feet back uphill. Tricky footing. No. You hate to see that. And granted, he's playing so well, maybe he could absorb, a miss, but Chandler back to back to back on the birdies up until this hole. Parker was looking to make another stroke here. 5 down on the front for Parker. It's going to put Marwede locking him in at 1 down for the front 9. Par for Chandler there. A hole that I would expect more than just one birdie on for the card, but I mean, like you said, it's very precise off the tee, and the tee shots, just putting it close on this green is difficult.
Need to be patient, have touch, have a good drive. Any birdie I've ever gotten here, I feel like I've earned. It's never happened accidentally.
Very true, and Parker is not getting birdies accidentally. That is going to do 5 on the front 9. He has gone from a 1-stroke deficit into a 1-stroke lead, heading into our back 9 here at Caliber Disc Golf.